I really always enjoyed anime. And
What got you into anime in the first place?
what got me into anime was the characters, the stories. I started with Pokemon. Pokemon was one of the first one I saw like as a little kid.
Classic.
Dude. And, like, come on. Who here, I'm going to shoot to the camera here. Who here has not played the Pokemon Game Boy games? You know what I'm saying?
I'm that guy.
Yeah, exactly.
I never played Pokemon.
Really? Oh.
I never played
Sorry,
Pokemon.
I was like, he's proving my point. He's not.
Hey, thanks for checking out the show. And if you like it, tell a friend. And if you want to support the show, you can by 1, subscribing and liking our YouTube channel at the DMW Podcast. 2, you can go to our website and sign up to our mailing list at the DMWpodcast.com. And 3, you can follow us on Instagram at the DMW Podcast. Thanks again for all of your support. My name is Stef, and this is the Dead Man Walking Podcast. Jaian?
Yeah.
Thanks, man, for coming on the show.
Dude, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. It's a wonderful setup. It's awesome to be here. And it was a few weeks in the making, but here we are.
Well, you know, it was funny because I remember when I first started the show,
Yeah.
you had reached out to me and you were like, dude, I love this show.
Yeah,
And,
I was a fan. I loved it.
And it was so cool. Like I think you were one of the first few guys like that
Yeah.
had reached out and said, you know, I really like the show. And, you know, and then I looked into what you were doing. I was like, oh, it's pretty cool. The shit that you were working on. And then it was kind of like, you were like, oh, I'd love to be on the show. And
Yeah,
I think you were the first person that said like, I want to be on your show.
I would be that guy.
Yeah. But to me, it was kind of like, holy fuck, somebody wants to be on the show. Like,
Yeah.
it's not me asking.
No.
It was somebody that wanted to be on the show. And I remember
Yeah.
I was like, okay, let me put this down because I was like still setting shit up.
Yeah.
And I remember, I think you had reached out to me around like 5th or 6th episode, something like that.
Okay.
On the audio stuff.
Yeah,
only
yeah.
audio. And then I was like, okay, you got to, I'm setting up like a video thing. Like, let me set this up and then give you a buzz back. And then so much shit happened. Then you reached back out. I said, fuck, I got to call him back. You know,
Yeah, well, I wanted to give you I knew that like setting up a show, like I also podcast and I don't even do a video version of mine. And I just know it's the work that it is.
Yeah, it
So
takes time. I didn't realize. Like,
Yeah.
If I would have known maybe how much work this was, I don't know if I would have
We
done
had
it.
never met. What do you mean?
Yeah, but it was so cool, man. Like to have that experience. Like for me as a host, like you made me like say, holy shit, like this.
Oh, well,
people are listening.
I'm happy you feel that way, man, because I think you worked really hard. You can tell in the quality of the product. You can tell in the setup. You can tell in the quality of the conversations that you're having. And to me, when I see something like that, I'm like, hey, I gotta go knock on that door and just say what's up and just see if like we can collaborate. I like meeting new people who are in the same space. So yeah, absolutely.
Well, the show is supposed to be about you, not about me.
Right,
So
all right.
We'll start talking about that.
Yeah. So why did you decide to do this?
You asking me the question? I'm the fucking host here. Not
You can tell I host my own show. I'm just asking you, like,
you took over the show.
what was that moment when you know you made it?
No, man. And so I looked into a bunch of stuff that you were doing, but there was stuff that I also found that when we had like a quick what am I, fucking 18? Quick conversation, about some stuff outside of even the work stuff that you're working
absolutely.
on that I found was super interesting. And I thought it was stuff that people can also kind of connect with.
Yeah.
So, it wasn't just the idea that you had reached out to me, was that I felt like there was also a story behind the stuff that you do.
Absolutely.
And I thought it was interesting. So, I think the way I always love starting these things is like asking, like, what are you working on right now? Because I know you have a lot of projects. What are you like really excited about right now?
Okay, so right now, I mean, I'm a content creator, and so I work on this channel where it's my first name music, so it's Jaian Music, and it's a solo music project where I post like very frequently covers of anime songs, openings, ending songs, or like just soundtracks within the actual series. And I also make video game music covers. I started combining the two because I felt like it was kind of getting dry just looking up Naruto original soundtracks all the time. And I also do a podcast called Anime Podcasters where we discuss anime. So all of that cycles through the channel. So it's a lot of fun. That's what I'm working on right now. But within that, I'm always trying to optimize the content. So now instead of just dropping covers and singles all the time, I'm doing albums. Like I just dropped a Christmas album. For fun.
Yeah, see, so this is like, we'll take a step back.
Yeah.
How the fuck did you think of this one? Because there's so many ways that people can create music. We always I used to play music, right?
Yeah.
So to me, playing music back then was like you get an instrument.
Yeah.
You start a band, and you hopefully make it. Like that was like, it felt like the only option when I was like
absolutely
12, 13.
Yeah.
But I feel like now, like there's so many things there's so many avenues when it comes to music, when it comes to content creation, where you're talking about, I'm starting a channel, I'm going to write music for this channel, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do covers of this, I'm going to create an album, and there's all this opportunity just sitting right in front of you.
Yeah.
So how did you get into that? Like, who broke you into this mentality of
not
having to be the front and center rock star idea, where you're actually doing all the stuff in the background?
So I've been doing YouTube since 2010. So I just started posting videos of myself playing instruments. I had this series called Jamming in the Basement, where it was my friend and myself hitting record on a camera, jamming for like an hour and a half in the basement, dumping the footage, and then chopping up my favorite parts and editing it and posting that. And I was doing that all the time. And then over time, I kind of figured out you need a niche, because right now it's a lot of just noise. And I really always enjoyed anime. And
what got you into anime in the first place?
What got me into anime was the characters, the stories. I started with Pokemon. Pokemon was one of the first ones I saw, like as a little kid. Dude, like, come on, who here? I'm gonna shoot to the camera here. Who here has not played the Pokemon Game Boy games? You know what I'm saying?
I'm that guy.
Yeah, exactly.
I never played Pokemon.
Really? Oh,
I never played Pokemon.
Sorry, I was like, he's proving my point. He's not.
No, I am disproving. But it's true though. But there's like almost all my friends.
Yeah.
They were all into that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, especially even the ones that are a little younger than me, like in that group, you know, that 5-year age group or whatever. Like, I'd say the guys like 35 under, all of them, they all fucking play Pokemon.
Yeah, Pokemon's the best. Pokemon's the best for that. I think it's the biggest, if not the biggest selling franchise ever. So to me, that was one of the first few animes that I watched. And then I got more into stuff like Naruto and Dragon Ball. And I was captivated. I was like...
What was it though? Like, what was it that...
It's the action, it's the adventure, it's the growth of a character that you get attached to. It's qualities that you see within that character that you're like, oh, he's so successful. What can I do to be like this character? Wow. Or to like learn, like, or to learn? Because a lot of people who watch these cartoon series, like it or not, will place themselves in that universe. Mm-hmm. And they'll be like, oh, what if I was a Pokemon master? What if I was a Z fighter? What if I was a ninja in Naruto? You know what I mean?
100%. Like, you see, for me, I didn't have as much of the connection with the anime world. For me, it was more like, I was a huge Ninja Turtles guy. Like, it was obsessed with Ninja Turtles. I was obsessed with Looney Tunes, like all those things. Like, every fucking weekend I would get up Saturday morning. It was like a 6-hour
Saturday
session.
Morning cartoons, absolutely.
6-hour session for like years. Then it would lead to WWF Superstars at noon and like all this stuff. Like, it was this whole world that I was in love with, but it wasn't anime. It was like right before the anime kind of craze, right? So anime got, and did someone introduce you to that, or you just kind of fell into it?
I just fell into it.
How?
Because
like,
the thing is, you watch, like, you know, like, what was it on like Saturday nights? They would play like Toonami. They would play animes back to back to back. Okay. So you just watch one series, you loved it, and then next up we have this series. I'm like, oh, this looks kind of cool, and then you watch more, and then with time you talk to other people who watch anime and they recommend shows, and there's even this site called My Anime List. Okay. If you're an anime fan, go up to myanimelist.net. It's the best because it's this database of every single anime that's ever existed. Oh yeah. And it's like a watch list thing. You could like, plan to watch, watching, watched. Shit. People put the ratings, people leave their comments. So it's like an infinite pool of anime, and it's got all the here's all the seasons, all the animes for the spring 2023 season. That's the other thing. There's seasons for animes. It's like, here's the spring stuff for this year.
Give you a heads up. The camera is there, so it's always going to block. No problem. Just giving you a heads up.
Yeah, for sure. This is what's coming up in the spring. This is what's coming up in the fall. This is what's coming up in the summer. And it's like 30 new series. So you have your pick of the litter.
By the way, I was gonna say, are you like, so as Italian? I was always, my editor was driving. I was driving him crazy because I always had my.
I mean, I am Italian. I am expressive with my hands, so it's I apologize to the editor, or I don't. I own it. I apologize. No, but that's what I'm saying. I don't.
Because one episode, dude, my hand was everywhere. It was literally cutting into half the conversation, and he sends me a message. He goes, dude, keep your fucking hands down.
See, like, we're talking about technical stuff, and right away I just noticed, I was like, oh, that brace is gonna make noise next to the mic. Like that. That's the thing. Like, how I can relate, because I also edit, so I get it. Like, so when you say that to me, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be helpful to the guy who's gonna be like,
the work it takes.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I do. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But anyway, sorry to interrupt. But you were saying, but like all the seasons and all that stuff, like this, and this site, like, So, okay, so you watched this stuff. Someone introduced you, but did someone introduce you to it, or you just fell into it, you said?
So it depends on the series. I fell into it just the anime world, and then other series were introduced to me by certain friends. Yes, it's a combination of both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, because I'm thinking like someone, or whatever, you start walking into this world and you're watching it and you're a fan.
Yeah.
When the fuck did you start thinking like, I want to be involved in this now? Like, I want to.
Oh, that's
I want
a
to
great
start
question.
looking at this and see how I can connect myself,
So-
not just as a viewer, but as being part of that world.
Yes, absolutely. I never thought of that, but what comes to mind when you say that is in 2014 to 2015, I was in this music program called Music Industry Arts. It's actually the same program that Jacob, your previous guest,
Jacob.
A good friend of mine.
Wait, that's how
we
that's why you
connected.
listen,
That's
right?
how we-
Because of
yeah.
Jacob and Luca?
Yeah. Yeah, well, I know Jacob and Luca.
Okay.
I also know Domenico from Astro Gates. I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
Dom.
Montreal music is tiny,
it's tiny.
Yeah, they're all awesome guys, and they're all doing great stuff. But basically, that program, I started learning about music production, and I started learning how to like do music other than just recording an instruments, like building a synthesizer and like plugging in notes and making weird stuff with it. Like you could buy a virtual piano and you can now make a virtual piano covers. And that's how it started out. I was like, oh, this anime song is not that complicated. I started looking into it. How can I do it? And I would make a session and have a template of like how I make this cover. And with time, I would just like plug notes together and just try experiment. And my first cover I posted like for anime stuff was like in 2014, and it did really well in terms of views, like more than all my other content. And I was like, maybe there's something to this.
Yeah,
and then, but then I put it in the back of my mind, and I started the anime podcast right around that time as well. And I was like, listen, the anime podcast goes really well with the anime music covers, and I can become like an anime audio channel, like a nerd audio anime freak, basically. Yeah. And with that, I decided to post once a week, and now it's come to the point where, with the amount of covers I'm making and the albums, I'm essentially posting every single day with the shorts and the podcast and the reels for the podcast. I can spread out content for like a podcast can be like the full episodes and like 4 shorts. That's your whole week of content right there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's how I learned that's how I to answer that question. Yeah.
So it's okay. So you had kind of walked into it. You built onto all this stuff, and then you started testing it.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you put the idea together, like, this is something that I want to focus on, like,
yes,
like so, what was it that triggered? Not like, okay, great, this worked, like,
so what
branch out onto a million things. Instead you dove in like completely into
yeah. What I realized, it was in 2019, my distributor was like, hey, you can post covers on like music distribution services, like you can post on Spotify and all those places.
Okay, maybe pause for a second. You're doing a cover, it's someone else's song.
Yeah,
don't you have to give some sort
of
rights?
Basically the way it works is when through the distributor, when I upload the metadata of the song, so the title, the genre, there's a section called the composer line, and this is where you write everyone who's composed that song.
Okay, so you grab that, copy paste, whatever.
Well, I there's like sites that legitimately like will list out like who composed what song on what album. So I always like make my due diligence to make sure I'm like crediting to the correct person, and then that automatically the distributor takes care of it in the back end, will distribute the breakdown of funds to them. So I think my estimations from my research is I think about 50% of my covers just go to the composer.
Well, they wrote the song, right, which is only normal.
Yeah, which is only totally normal, and I completely agree with it. Which I think some are very happy because I have like 2 songs that have broken 1 million streams each. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But those were posted at a time in 2019, and the algorithm just picked them up and just ran with it.
Yeah.
And I never thought I'd be in a position where I could say I have 2 pieces of content that have 7 digits. That's like when you start out making content, whatever it is, whether it's a podcast, a TikTok, whatever, the 7-digit number is what we dream of at night.
Yeah.
It's what we wish for.
Well, dude, like I was with the podcast when it hit that first 1,000, was just like, oh my God.
I know. You get the email, they automate the email, and they're like, you got 1,000 downloads. I feel you.
And it was like, wow, there's 1,000 downloads on this? And then all of a sudden now it's heading towards closer to 4,000 or 5,000. And I'm like, but this only just started. Like, it's like I was an idea in my mind. It wasn't like this, it was something I'd love to see.
Right.
Would anyone even listen? And then all of a sudden it's like, it's picking up, and then there's followers, and you're like, wow, this is connecting with someone.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So the songs, when you wrote that, was that kind of like a light bulb that just went off and said,
I just
"Oh my
really like
God."
the songs.
Okay.
I just really enjoyed those songs. I listened to them. Like the first one that hit a million is the theme of a character in Dragon Ball that has its own movie. It's not even like a canon character.
Okay.
It's a character called Tapion who plays the ocarina, and he has this theme that he plays.
Okay.
So it's a really mesmerizing song, and when I heard it, I was like, oh, this has to be covered. So I wrote the cover back in like 2017, posted it on YouTube, and so when I did my first batch of uploads back in 2019 to Spotify and everything else, I just remember seeing like, oh, you just got $4 from this song this month. I'm like, what do you mean I got $4 from this song?
It's a mind fuck.
And I'm like, what do you mean? And then like the money gets deposited into the account, and you're like, I made this, and now it's making me money. What? And now it's come to the point where like every month, and it's not stopping. And I don't think it will ever. It's like it got picked up. It's like if you type in that character's name, like Tapion theme on Spotify, my song shows up every time.
Wow.
Which is like a blessing.
How did you feel with that? Like,
Dude, it meant the world.
Yeah,
it meant the world.
Why? What was it about that kind of confirmed or made you feel that way?
It's the fact that I work really, 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 really hard, and I'm really passionate about what I do. It goes back to the fact that when I started school back in 2014, because I did a graduate diploma in film music, a bachelor's in electroacoustic studies, and I did a college degree in music industry arts. Okay. So I got to like see a lot of the quote unquote competition, the colleagues, people who are also in this field. And it's super intimidating in the sense that like these people are just super talented. Yeah. It's like you play your song and the next person plays their song in class, and it's like, what the? I can't.
I got destroyed when I went to Vanya. I got completely
exactly.
It broke me.
Exactly.
It broke my
you
ego.
Know exactly what I'm talking about. But the fact of the matter is I realized that I'll never be the most talented. Like that's just not my path. That's not how I'm meant to be. That's at least how I feel. Maybe that's changed, and maybe people have differing opinions. But like at that time, that's how it felt. And with time, I just realized like what I can do is work harder than anyone else. Yeah. That's how I felt. I was like, if I just put in more hours and I start doing it now and I don't stop and I keep going every single day, like I don't take a day off from content. I make music, I make podcasts every single day. Today is this podcast, and when I get home, I'm working on I have a to-do list of things, and every single day I get that to-do list done. I don't care how tired I am, whatever it is, like I will get it done. It just has to get done. That's my mindset when it comes to this stuff. It's like, it's ingrained in me. I taught myself that over time. And so when you see the fruits of your labor, it means everything, man. That's why I'm saying it means the world, because it literally took so much effort for me to get there, you know? And I'm not going to stop, because like now I'm seeing the fruits of my labor, and I'm about to crack my 30s, and I'm like, okay, I'm hitting numbers that people will never get in their life. So why stop now? Mm-hmm. Don't stop. Keep going. It's even if you're like tired. Sometimes I'll wake up in the morning. I'm just like, I don't want to get out of bed. I don't feel like it. I'm just. It's been long. It's long, man. It's long. I didn't sleep enough, and it's like, stop, get up, and just do it. Yeah. Just keep making music and keep making content. And the fact of the matter is, I'm happy to do it. I'll get out of my bed. I'll take my shower, do all my stuff, and when I get in front of my computer and open up my music session, I'm like, yes, all right, here we go. And there's a smile on my face every single time, because this is what I love doing. Yeah.
That's great, man. Because you hear these stories of people that, you know, it's hard. They can't find the passion. The biggest thing that I hear from most people is, I don't know what I'm passionate about.
Oh,
and so their whole
I've heard that so many times.
Yeah, and their whole life they're searching. So in one way, it's a blessing, because you know what you're passionate about, and you found it at a young age. But it's also, what people don't understand is that just because you have a passion for something, it doesn't mean it's going to get done. Like, there's that whole other work ethic. And you said something, you know, like, I ingrained it in my head.
I had to.
Why? Why did you feel like you had to do that?
If I didn't do it, I wouldn't get where I want to get. And I have one life to live. I'm not going to waste my time not trying my hardest. Yeah. That's how I operate.
But did something happen in a sense? Like you were saying, when you went to school and you realized, like,
these
fucking guys were at another level.
It's a multitude of things. It's like seeing the people at the other level, and it's also working at Planet Studios, where Luca and Jacob.
I think I'm interviewing everybody at the fucking studio.
At studio in Montreal, it's a place that I'm really grateful I got in there. And
It seems like the place where you go to become a producer. You could walk in thinking you're a producer, but you become a producer.
It will let you know real quick if you're meant for the music industry or not.
Oh yeah, why?
It's takes a lot of dedication, and I was lucky enough to have Jacob as a mentor when I got there, and he just watching him work and watching him like do what he does. He was like we call him the fairy because he would just figure everything out whenever there was a problem, whenever there was a technique. Like he just was that guy. And I was like, this guy's younger than me, but this guy's been all this time I've been doing these diplomas. This guy has been like grinding like crazy at the studio. And I was like, that's the first person that I saw in audio, like really working super hard.
Yeah.
And so I was like, if he's teaching me, I got to take a pen, I got to take a paper, I got to write down everything he says. And I have to like learn how to do that. And, you know, you work with these really big artists, these very big labels, you know, I'll always remember there was one time I was maybe like less than like a month and a half there, and there was a big session that was coming in.
Who was coming in?
I don't know if I'm a discussion of this. I don't want to reveal like client work and stuff like that, like, you know. But there was a big session coming in, and so everyone who's working on big session is booked, and I'm like, okay, so I'm just gonna be like sitting in and watching. I was like, oh, guess what? We have this other super big session, and it can only happen that day. Jaian, you're responsible for recording this. And I was like, dude, I've been here for 6 weeks. It's like it was one of those sink or swim moments.
Yeah.
So the second I learned that, it's like I feel like normally you would freak out, but my mind just went to, okay, how many audio tracks do I need? What microphone am I using? How am I patching it? Where am I putting it? What are the best editing shortcuts that I can use to record this? Like everything. Like my mind just went into like work mode.
Yeah.
And I got through it, and it's like it's one of those things where it's part of just a list of achievements. It's like this. I got through this. I did that. Like no matter what, I can only do better than this.
Yeah.
I can also
do
worse.
This is the new starting point.
But I know, yeah, exactly. They're like I know I can like hit this level, so I'm just gonna keep trying and keep working at this. And so, you know, and then after that, I was cold emailing around town, and I cold emailed CBC, Radio Canada, which is basically the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. It's like it's the place for like television production and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, there's no chance. Like I'll apply, but I don't think I'll hear back or anything. Yeah. I cold email on the Sunday night. On the Monday morning, I'm walking out of the metro. I'm going to the studio where I always go, like the routine of the routines. I remember I was recording Christmas songs all the time. It's like that time of the year where you remember Michael Bublé exists.
Yeah. You're like, oh shit, Mariah Carey's back.
Mariah Carey's, yeah, exactly. And I was like,
wham, fucking.
I was just sick of listening to mixed references. Like, could you make me sound like Michael Bublé? I was like, I get it. I have to do this, but it's like,
yeah.
If
I could throw myself in front of a metro right now,
not necessarily, but more like it's more like I meant to do more with my life at this point. Like I've gone around the honey pot. It's
not a bad thing. It's not the central focus of your like. You don't want that to be the central focus.
I just feel like once I've gone around the honey pot enough, and I feel like I've learned what I need to learn, like it gets dry really quick.
Yeah.
And so I'm walking out of the metro, and on the Monday morning, CBC calls me back. It's been like 12 hours since I've applied. I could not believe it. And long story short, I managed to get in, and now I work there, and I'm blessed. It's the funnest job. It's the coolest people. It's a whole other world of audio that I had to learn. I had to shift from studio audio, like engineer, studio assistant, to like location sound recordist. Those are like, it's like A and W. They might be in audio, both of them, but there's like
two different worlds.
It's like one, you're in the studio's around you. The other one is like the studio's on your chest. Yeah. And you have to like work everything with that and boom and laugh. And
I was about to say, so you're getting the two experiences where one's a controlled setting and one is a completely uncontrolled setting.
Yeah, in terms of the recording, yeah, absolutely. Because sometimes I'll have to go like in factories where it's like bing, 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 and it's like, okay, what can I turn off? How can I mic this to make it like as like the more voice, more voice, the less noise, you know? So like typically you want to get like as close to the mouth as close to the neck as possible, because like you get a lot of lower frequencies here. Stuff like that. Just like whatever technique I've learned, how do I apply it, and how do I learn to do it at this, you know? And I remember I get hired with other people, and these other people, they had been working for 20 years. One was doing live audio for like 20 plus years.
Yeah.
One was like within CBC already for almost a decade and a half.
Yeah.
And I'm here and I finished my studies like less than a year ago and I'm fresh out of Planet. And I'll always remember I was like, I bit off way more than I could chew.
I can't do this.
Not
that
more or
I
less.
can't, but
like
I
this is going to be
tough.
very, 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 very. This is going to be the hardest hill yet. And I just realized, I just went back to like work really hard. So what I asked for was, hey, can you give me the manual to the mixer that we're going to be using? And every single day for 2 months and a half, I read the manual. 80
You're the
pages.
only person that probably.
I read the manual so many times. I watched every tutorial on the manual. On the mixer. I did everything every single night before going to bed. I would just ingrain it in my mind. I was like, if I don't do this, I can't. Like,
so you have the quality that most people, whenever they're super successful at doing shit, it's an obsession quality.
More or
like,
less,
but it's not a bad thing. Like people look at that word obsession, or another word that's like the word discipline or whatever the fuck it is. They look at it in such a negative tone, like that means you're missing out on life because you're so obsessed with this or because you're so disciplined. You're not.
Right.
And I don't know. I have that same quality too on certain things. Like when I'm obsessed, I just want to fucking dive completely into it, put on the shutters like from everything else, and just focus in on this. And to me, it's not a loss of anything. I'm happy doing these things. Like people don't understand. Like you get into it because you want to know more. Yeah. You're learning stuff about shit that you actually want to learn about instead of learning about some fucking stupidity that you don't even care.
I understand what you're saying. I think that the thing is, not everyone's mind is different, and like sometimes like on like a chemical level, I think, or on a mental level, like some people just they're going through harder things.
Exactly.
It's not maybe a possibility. It's not necessarily a possibility. So as much as I can preach about hard work and discipline, I also know that it's not something that's as easily tapped into for other people.
So you sound like it's from a personal experience.
Well, I just notice a lot, and I'm a very people person, and I have I would like to say I have a high emotional intelligence, so I can put myself in other people's shoes sometimes. Okay.
You're empathetic.
Yes, I'm a very empathetic person. I think that's something that's helped me get to where I am now because I like human contact. Like for example, had I not been like someone who pushes on human contact, like I wouldn't be sitting here. I wouldn't be talking to you right now. You know what I mean? So it's also an opportunity creation kind of thing. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so there's music. I know you're super passionate.
Yeah.
And when we spoke, you also said you were super passionate about running.
Running is something that I did not know I was passionate about until the pandemic hit.
Why?
And
what happened? Well, I guess.
So basically, the story of my running is I started running during the pandemic just because I wanted to get outside and just like find something to do and like not go crazy. It was one of the only ways for me to like just get rid of like the bad vibes.
Yeah. And when you were saying bad vibes, what were you feeling like you were going through?
I think everyone was going through bad vibes at that point. We're uncertain. I'm talking about like March 2020 when the prime minister is on your TV and saying, "I don't know what this is. Stay inside." Like everyone was like freaking out at that point.
Yeah. And I remember when you said, because I lived downtown at the time, and downtown was empty.
Yeah.
And they had all the tents in the area there, the entertainment area, Plaza Zal. And they had all the tents, like, and everyone was wearing these fucking suits, and they were taking tests. It felt like a horror movie. It was one of the most awkward feelings. I remember we'd be walking out on the street with Sonia and I, and just saying, "What the fuck is going on?" Like downtown was empty. There was no one on St. Catherine Street. And we lived right at the corner of St. Catherine and St. Alexander.
Okay. Yeah.
So we were like right in the heart of the city.
Yeah, the heart of downtown.
And we'd be walking outside, and there's no one outside.
Yeah.
There's tents, people doing tests. It was a fucked up. Like you forget about like how the situation was when it first was like released, that information.
So, yeah, absolutely. And what occurred was I was talking to some of my friends, and he's like, "Oh, you should try running." Like, because I mentioned I used to do a little bit of running in the past. And he's like, "Yeah, start with do like 1 or 2 kilometers, just to try it." I was like,
test it.
I used to run before and a little bit. I did 5. He's like, "Yeah, but don't do 5 on your first shot. 5 is ridiculous." I was like, "Yeah, I could do 5." He's like, "Don't do 5." It's like, I could probably do 5.
Don't do it. I'm gonna do it.
And then obviously I ran 5. First kilometer, feeling it, we're good. Second kilometer, all right, but we're still good. I get to the halfway point, 2.5 kilometers, I'm dead. I'm like, my body's like, "What are you doing to me? What are you doing to me?"
It's like it goes into shock.
A little bit. You hit that wall. Well, the wall was 2.5 kilometers for me that first time. And I remember I just pushed through and I ran all the way, and I made sure to end my marathon, my 5 kilometers right at my apartment door, and I just like bear crawled up the stairs and like into my bed, and I was like, my room was like, are you okay? Should I call? I'm like, I'm good. I just need water, and she brought me a cup of water, and I was like, okay, let's clean this and let's shower off. Like, oh my god, and I started doing that every 2 days. I started running 5 kilometers, and I was running up until I got to about 13 kilometers. And I was at Planet at a time, and Planet, schedule was busy. That's a whole other thing where like I was there like all the time.
Yeah.
Like I
Jacob
slept there.
The exact same thing.
I was there all the time.
Same thing.
Yeah. Like I just had, my focus became existing at Planet. Like that, and whatever spare minute I had, I would grab my laptop and work on my YouTube channel. That was my life for a long while. And I got to a point where I decided to do 20 kilometers.
The half marathon?
Half marathon. Well, 21 is, but basically
21.2 whatever.
21 point was something. And I was like basically running back and forth on this bike track. And I just had some like demons that I had to get rid of. Like some people I had to get out of my mind.
On?
It was, I lost a family member and it really, who was a runner. So I was like, it was a thing where like, I was like, I have to grieve like this, just because like I just knew no one else in my family was gonna do it like that, and I just feel like if there is a heaven and if this person is looking up above, I think it'd be pretty cool to see me running in their honor,
Yeah. Who do you mind if I ask who was? Someone really close? Or?
Yeah, it was someone really close. Okay. Yeah. And basically, I was doing this half marathon, and I remember when I hit my iPod, whenever I had like 500 meters, I was like 500 meters, 400 meters. And I was literally yelling like, this is for you. Like, I was just like, I was like, whatever energy I have left, whatever anger, whatever I got left, like, get rid of it.
Yeah.
And that was not enough, apparently. Because then I went to go and see family and like just talk to people. And then I was like, okay, that's a half marathon. What's like the next thing?
Yeah.
And at this point, I've been running for like 4 or 5 months, maybe. And the most I'd done was 13 kilometers and 20 kilometers. And after the 20 kilometers, I was out for like 3 days. Yeah. Like it killed me.
Yeah, exactly. I know when I finished the marathon itself, I was out for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Like my body just needed to recover.
Yeah, yeah. And I knew one other person who had run a few marathons in their life. And I asked them, I was like, listen, like I ran 13, I've ran 20, that's like 33. Like, do you think I could do a marathon? He's like, don't do a marathon. Like, that's not... Like, people train for months and months. There's a specific regimen, and it's, like, very unsafe to do it just like that. And, I mean, I'll just spoil it. I didn't listen.
Clearly.
Did not listen to that.
I think I would have been able to tell that.
Yeah, and I decided one day, I took a gourd of water, about a liter of water.
Okay.
Put some ice cubes in it. Just fill it up. And I went to this baseball field next to my house, and I just started running in circles.
No way.
I started running in
42 kilometers in circles?
In circles.
That's
I started
insane.
running. I didn't stop.
Okay, now we got to pause for a second.
Okay.
Why in circles? Why not run like I?
Because
what were you trying to prove in the circle versus not prove, but I mean, what were you trying to do with yourself?
So
in that moment to just do it in circles and not just run through the fucking city.
In two parts. The first thing was, I'm next to my house, so if anything happens, I can easily get back to my house.
Okay.
Second thing is, when you're running a marathon, you have like 8 stations across the way. For me, I can drop my water bottle, run back, grab it, drop it, run back, grab it, drop it. So it's like it seems insane, but it's also very useful for that. Okay. Because I'm doing it by myself.
But I mean, to stay focused.
Yeah.
And not be like, I'm at one point when I was doing all my training, like be running, and even though I'm running through the city, I'd be bored. Like at a certain point, I remember I was like, when I was hitting those 32 kilometer runs, I was like, oh man, I felt like I saw everywhere in the city. I was getting so bored of doing those runs. That's why it's like to do it in circles to me is fucking, that's a mental torture for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I get it. But once again, it's ingrained in my mind. I'm a very hardworking, disciplined person. And if I put my mind to something, I am relentless and I will accomplish it. It doesn't matter what it is, I will accomplish. That's the only way it goes down every single time. When I really put my all into it, like when it's like it doesn't happen all the time, but when I decide to, that's it. It's getting done.
It's locked in.
It's locked in. It's only a matter of time. And I remember I get to 10 and I'm like already winded. I get to 15, my like legs start hurting. I get to 20 and it's like the worst pain ever. And I'm like, I'm not even halfway.
Yeah.
I push to like 23 kilometers and I get to 23 and just my feet are like have like heartbeats. I can just feel. I look at my socks, they're torn. I get to 30, my shoes have holes in them. I get to 33. Every time I step, my shoulders are hurting.
It's crazy.
My shoulders are hurting when I'm walking on the ground. That's ridiculous. I get to 38 and I'm just like, at this point, it's just like automatic movement. It's only because my brain has been.
I gotta finish this now.
Yeah. I get to right at the end, like maybe like a few hundred meters left. And it's like, I know my house is about like 600 meters away. So I just sprint to my house. I'm like, when I get to that house, I'm collapsing in that bathtub and I'm pouring cold water on my body to like relax. And I always remember when I hit 42 kilometers, I stopped and I just felt like there were like 10 Jaians behind me and they all slammed into me.
Yeah.
They all slammed into me and I was there and I was like, and I post a lot of stories on myself running. And I'll film myself and I'll do a little speech. And I didn't in that moment for some reason. I just felt so happy. And I walked up my stairs. I actually managed to walk up my stairs that time. It's funny how like I could do 20, I could do 5, and I'll bear crawl. But after doing 42, I can just simply walk. And essentially, when I got into that bathtub and that cold water was hitting me, I was like, you did that. You absolutely did that. And I decided, I was like, okay, I did what I need to do when it comes to running. Fast forward 2 years, October. This was in October of 2021. October of 2020. No, this was October of 2020. Pardon me. Mm-hmm. October of 2022. Fast forward 2 years, so October of last year, or the year before. When you're listening to this, I don't know when it's gonna get posted. You know, that's the creator in me. I was like, scheduling. I was looking into like what's after a marathon.
Yeah.
And I learned about the ultra marathon.
Yeah. And
the ultra marathon is a minimum of 50 kilometers. Yeah. And I was like, man, I've done 42.
8 more.
I could do. It's only 8 more, man.
And I did it in fucking circles. So
it's exactly. And so I decided to run 50 this time. And for that, it was just because I wanted to beat myself. I just wanted to be better than what I was before. Yeah. I just that was it. And this time, last time was a baseball field. This time, soccer field.
Jesus Christ.
And I ran in circles in a soccer field, but I really slowed down my pace on this one. I really took my time because to me it was no longer. I was obsessing about like the fastest kilometer. I stopped caring about that. To me, it's like
it's just about the distance.
It's me versus me. That's it. And if you look at, you know what Strava is?
Yeah.
Okay. If you look at my Strava, bro, and I'll send you a screenshot of this. It's like you zoom in to the lines, and the lines have lines, and then the lines have lines, and the lines within the lines have lines.
Yeah, you're just in the same spot, circles.
I ran it around that soccer field for like 8 hours.
Did it take you?
About 7 hours and some. I really took my time. I really slowed down my pace for this one.
Crazy,
on purpose. And this, I took a video of me on the first kilometer, just the first kilometer, how it felt, and the last kilometer, and then I filmed myself talking after that, and it goes back to what I was saying earlier. It's like I'm not a good runner. I want to make that very clear. I'm not a good runner. People think they're like, "Yeah, you ran these crazy distances. You're great at running." It's like, no. I'm not fast. I don't have good technique. The only thing I have is a mindset that makes up for all of those weaker points.
Yeah, your strength,
it's the great equalizer.
You know, it's funny you say that because I read a book called Now Discover Your Strengths. And I thought it was a great book because a lot of times people will talk about like, oh, my weakness is this. You know, I don't have good technique. I'm not a good runner. So I'm going to focus in on being a better runner. And I'm sure it helps. Like if you were a better runner, a better technique, maybe you'll feel less pain at the end of it. Yeah. But if you don't have the mindset, which is the hardest part, you're not even going to get to the run in the first fucking place. So it was talking about like that the goal of this book is really to find out what your strengths are. Yeah. And double down on those. Fuck the weaknesses. Because the weaknesses, everyone has weaknesses. And if you're focusing on that, you're always focusing on something that is kind of like from a negative starting point.
Yeah.
And, so it seems like your mindset is one of those things that's like, dude, it's locked in. When it's locked in, it's real.
Yeah.
Because if you can run a fucking circle for fucking 50 kilometers, that's pretty amazing and insane.
It is ridiculous.
Yeah,
It's
ridiculous.
not normal. It's
But why? You see, like, to me, I'm hearing that, and I always hear, and I feel like there's an underlying question to this: is why is this so important to you?
man.
Because now I understand the first reason for the run was a family member.
Yeah.
But to continue, like you did it. So why are you continuing this? And why has it become something that is so important to constantly prove to yourself?
Because
That I need to keep going.
Yeah.
I need to push just a little further.
So,
I'm just curious about that.
to me, life to me is just this one big self-discovery journey, and I really want to find out what this human experience is about. Like, I want to go to the depths of myself, and I want to know, like, when I'm laying in that deathbed, which, is inevitable for everyone,
Yep.
I want to make sure I was like, I did the most. I'm happy about myself. I feel this way right now about this is the last year of my 20s that I'm currently living, and I want this to be the hardest working year of my life when it comes to like my work, my content creation, my everything. I want to hit 30 and be like, look back at my 20s and be like, yo, you did these 3 diplomas. You worked at these 5 different studios. You work for the broadcasting corporation of this country. You've composed music for films. You've worked in game audio. You've done film post-production sound. You've done podcasts. You've done location recording. You've done everything that you wanted to do. And now I only get to improve upon that. To me, it's like I want to keep pushing myself. I love that. I love learning more about myself. And I don't want to stop. I've taken the time now to now once a year, I'll go on vacation somewhere, but that to me is not just an excuse to kick back and relax.
How do you even feel on vacation?
I love being on vacation.
I know for me, I had a hard time on vacation at one point. Because I used to work so hard that when I used to be on vacation, to be honest, I just bring my laptop with me.
I do bring my laptop.
And I'm working, but I used to feel like kind of weird because I'm like, I left. But then I realized for me, that everyone's different. Maybe now it's a bit different. Like I try to enjoy the vacation a little more and I want to detach. I need that time to just like disconnect and come back fresh. But I know for a long time, I'd say till like almost 35 years old, I never left on a vacation without my laptop. And one of my favorite things on vacation was I'd wake up early, I'd grab a coffee, no matter what, and I'd just like kind of like close up whatever it was. Okay, my day was done. Like in those things that were super important to me, like I had my obsessions about certain things.
Yeah.
Close it up, and then I'd be like, okay, now let me go enjoy my day on the vacation. And at the end of the night, like before going to bed, I would just check and say, okay, everything's cool. Start again tomorrow. And I would enjoy my vacation where people would be like, dude, you open your laptop on vacation. And I'm like, yeah, dude, I fucking loved it.
Yeah. So to me, like, I talk about all this work that I do and all the content, but I love doing it. To me, it doesn't feel necessarily like a laborious task. I enjoy it. So to me, if I'm on vacation, I'm going to allow myself to like enjoy doing what I love doing,
And then add the beach to it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, add the beach to it or add
whatever city
the monument
you're
going to go visit to it. Yeah, you're allowed to, the thing is, I work in a home studio all the time, but my laptop is portable. I can bring it wherever I want, and I can work on whatever I want, wherever I want. And I'm allowed to do that. And I don't feel guilty because to me, it's something that I enjoy, So, yeah.
A quick question I want to ask you, and you don't have to go into it or not, but you had said, kind of like, I want to know on my deathbed, do you feel that the person that passed away is what ignited that idea of not having any regrets? Were they young?
The person that passed?
Yeah, it said someone.
No. That hasn't.
Did it have like some sort of like that
not
person
necessarily?
Passed away,
no.
and so you're recognizing like time is like life is there is a.
I guess it's like always a reminder, but it's not even because it's just a general thing.
Okay, it was just you had that feeling prior to that.
Yeah, I've always been like that. I've heard someone say that once, and I was like, damn, that like that. Sometimes people just say something, and we're like, that's a cold hard truth. Yeah. Or like sometimes, I remember one time I was like walking down the street and someone had graffitied on a wall like, "Watch out, you're stuck in your head again." And I'm like, that
you got me.
That is applicable to everyone.
Yeah,
because it's the brain is one of those things that has like a complete advantage over you of like it knows your biggest fears, your biggest weaknesses, and it can like make you spiral into any one of those however it wants. So another thing I did, actually, I can talk about this because it kind of relates to what you were saying. When I first started working at CBC to like calm myself, I meditated once every single day, and I meditated every single day for like 400 days. every day I force myself. And I learned through meditation that like if my mind was like me walking on a path, I realized there was like a tunnel under that path. Like on the floor under me, there was like,
What do you mean?
There's more depth. There's like
Okay.
more thoughts to go find.
Yeah.
It's like, for example, when you have a scary thought or a negative thought or something that like frightens you, I think that I learned is that, you know, you are not your thoughts. Your thoughts are two things. They are impermanent and they can be controlled. They can be like, I guess that's not the best way to put it, but like they're impermanent and they're a part of you. You know what I mean? Like they're not you. You can control them however you want.
And they come and go.
They come in and they go. That's what I mean by impermanent. And so one thing I learned to do is something just like a labeling technique. Whenever I'm thinking and something's bothering me, I label one of two things. And this is a thing that like you don't want to filter too heavily because it's just a base way to work, and then you find what you like within that. I just label it either does it help me or does it not help me? Is it helpful or unhelpful? And that's something that like helps me immensely. I like sometimes I'll like my brain will like bring up these things. And I'm just like, what's gonna be helpful about this? Nothing. So stop thinking it.
You know, it's
Let
funny
it go.
You say that with meditation because when I was young, I didn't do any of that stuff, and then in the last like I'd say 7 years, like I really understood the importance. I'd say probably around 33 years old. So yeah, 7 years ago. I was like, man, this is important. Like taking that time to kind of like self-reflect, but also let go of the thoughts, right?
Yeah.
And one thing that I remember a buddy of mine, my buddy Dan from Astral Gates, who plays with Dom, he had told me once, like when you're meditating, a lot of times you can't control the thoughts that are coming into your head, even when you're meditating, because sometimes you want to meditate, but the thoughts are overpowering
They just
you.
come.
They're just coming at you at an overload that you're like, how come I can't relax? And then that's a thought. Like, how come I can't relax? Is a thought that you need to.
That's what I was saying. Like the brain like will make you spiral with the thought within the thought within the thought.
Exactly. Yeah. So one thing that I remember he had mentioned is like, he said something along the lines of, maybe I got it wrong, but now that's how I use it and it's super helpful. Is that, let's say when I sit down and I start meditating, I tell myself, I'm not really ready to meditate till I can let go of those thoughts and really have a clear mind walking into this. So what I'll do is I'll sit down and I'll take like a few deep breaths, kind of calm the body down. And then the vision that I have is that I'm like sitting in this canoe, like in water. And there's all these thoughts that are coming in. And every time a thought comes in, instead of like, oh, how come it's there? I'm like, okay, great, got it. Take it. And I put it down the river and it goes down the river. Like another one. Until I feel like there's no more thoughts that are in, that I need to kind of let them go down the stream and just kind of sail away for now. You'll be there later if it's really important, but if not, I need to get rid of you before I can even start the process of meditating and relaxing. And ever since I started kind of introducing that idea of getting rid of the thoughts, letting them come, listening to them and saying, thank you, now it's time to go. Once I started doing that, I realized like that you fall into a deep meditation. And when you do like sit down and you visualize whatever it is after, once it's all clear, you're in this like 10, 12 minute session now where you really are in that session and it feels like you have the weight of the world off your shoulders. And you could wake up after, and once kind of not wake up, but when you return, I guess, from the experience, you have this sense of like, that was like hours of just self like relaxation therapy. And it took 15 minutes, like in a sense. And I realized the importance of doing that as often as you possibly. It's tough to do it every day. But not that it's tough, it's just sometimes the day gets you and you don't realize the importance of it. But I try to do it as often as I possibly can to just like, you gotta let the mind like relax a bit, because this thing is fucking on all day. It never stops. You're dreaming, you're thinking, you're still thinking in one sense. So I hear you, like the importance of doing that and really kind of immersing yourself into it. It's the only way you can really stay disciplined. It's the only way you can really stay focused on your stuff, because the thoughts will at a certain point overpower you. And with exhaustion.
Absolutely. Like to me, meditation allowed me to just learn how to better control my mind and how to better, because I feel like I understand what you're saying about like thoughts having to be let go before you meditate. But to me, when I was meditating, when the thoughts came, I just let them pass by. And I just realized how like thinless, like how thin they are, how nothing they really are, and the only thing that ignites more of doubt, the doubt demons or anything like that, is just me. So it goes back to what I was saying when I was running. It's like me versus me.
And so now that you're hitting 30, you said you're hitting 30 or you just hit 30?
No, I'm hitting 30 in August of 2024.
Okay, so you have about, what, 9 months, 10 months?
Yeah.
Before that. How are you feeling about this idea of this new decade? I know we spoke very briefly about it.
So I'm super excited. I am one of those rare people that's... Oh, are we good?
I think so.
Okay. I just want to make sure.
Yeah, we're good.
We're good? Okay,
Yeah.
good. I am one of those people that is very bizarrely into the idea of starting my 30s because I feel like by the time what I want to get done in my 20s gets done, like by the day before I turn 30, I'll feel happy with what I did.
Yeah.
That's the thing with like...
No regrets about your 20s.
There's no regrets. There's no regrets. It's... That's the advantage of being like a crazy working person is that like once I'm done what I need to get done, I look back on it and I'm like, yo, like you did the most. You did more. You did more than what most people would or could
in a lifetime.
Sometimes yes, but like not necessarily. But yes,
you'd be surprised.
I'd be surprised. You're right,
no, dude.
I'll
Everything
give you that
just
point.
fucking finished saying of like, one, having people don't look at it because they look at it from like, this is my perspective, right? You said a YouTube channel. Let's say an example. For some people, they've been thinking about doing that their whole life and they never did it.
Yeah.
So they always were scared. They didn't have the courage to get up and put themselves out there to be ridiculed if it wasn't good or to be
I got
criticized.
ridiculed.
For sure.
Dude, I'll always remember when I first
Everyone remembers when they get fucking shit.
Well, to me, it wasn't even in the comment section. It was at my high school. It was like in a in-person. I think everyone in high school gets tossed around. It's just part of the high school experience. But I'll always remember when I was in the 11th grade. So I had been doing YouTube for about a year now, and I was posting these videos of me playing guitar and singing. And I would like be practicing in a practice room. There were these windows in the practice room, and someone like wrote like "You are a disgrace to music" and just like stuck it in the practice room window. Or like I would like play shows at talent shows, and people would film them and then post them on their Facebook and be like, "Oh, this guy sucks." Da, da, da. Like I got put through the ringer really early on, and I was like, I even had like close friends come to me like, I don't think you should keep doing this. That's not really your thing. And I was like, who are all of you to tell me what to do?
Yeah,
I'm gonna keep doing it because I love it. It's as simple as that. It's like put your head down and keep doing it. So that was always a part of me as like a teenager, but I still kept doing it, and it got more ignited with like as I grew older and when I got into Planet and into school, into CBC and everything, and like and starting the podcast and everything. It never stopped, and it applies to other spheres of my life as well. When I like for example, last year was a weird year. Lots of crazy stuff to happen, but I had a near death bike accident last year.
Oh shit! What happened?
So basically, I was biking to work, and there's like this big downhill you take right after a big boulevard, and I was riding Bixie, and I always have my helmet with me, and I always wear long sleeves. I mean, like, look, this is part of what I wear. And this is the one time I didn't have my helmet. That's how life is sometimes, because I forgot it at my friend's place. But I was like, it's the one time.
Fuck, what's gonna happen?
If you're listening to this, wear your helmet. Wear your helmet. Wear your helmet. I got lucky enough. I could not be here right now had it gone any worse. I'm going down this hill, and I have my Bixie, right? So Bixie, for people who aren't from Montreal, which I guess your entire audience is there. These are very heavy bikes. They're very heavy city. They're like 40 pounds or something like that. I could be wrong, but anyways, they're really heavy. And this driver was going downhill and was turning right onto my bike lane and didn't do their blind spot. And basically my front wheel hit the back of the car. My Bixie wheel looked like a Pac-Man. I flipped over. Whoa. And I landed on my back. And the only thing that saved my life was I was wearing a backpack because I was leaving for like 4 or 5 days. So I had like a bunch of clothes and like just cushioning me. Fuck. And I landed on that. And had I not had that, I could have hit the back of my head.
Yeah, easy.
And I'm done.
Or your back. You would have. Who knows?
Oh yeah. I could have been paralyzed. I could have been. And so I remember getting hit, landing, and I was just in total shock. And the person comes out of the car and they're like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" And I was like, words were like slowly coming to me, and
the concussion, I'm guessing.
No, nothing. I just had like cuts.
Wow. How lucky are you?
Beyond lucky. Holy
fuck.
the fire department shows up, the police show up, and the check they did was they looked at my head and they go, "What day of the week are we?" I'm like, "Monday." He's like, "Yeah, he's good."
Yeah, it's good.
All right, get the ambulance. And I took the ambulance, went to the hospital, got checked, got a week off work. I was there.
This was when, last year?
That was last year. It was like it was June 13th of 2022.
Wow.
It was a Monday. And this is
You'll
important.
never forget the Monday.
No.
That question.
But the reason why I remember it is basically when I got home and like all the noise was done, all the doctors, all the ambulance, all the friends, everything, and it was by myself in my apartment in the dark, laying in my bed. I like just started crying, and like it finally hit me that I almost died, and I started crying, and I couldn't. I was like so. Oh my God! What happened? It's as if like I was just holding it in the whole time, and then it all came out, and I started talking to other people about that have had bike accidents, and they told me like, oh yeah, I haven't ridden my bike since I took the season off.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I don't know if I'm gonna. My friend came back and gave me back my bike helmet because I forgot it at the studio he worked at, and always remember the 13th is a Monday, the 19th is a Sunday. That Sunday, I'm laying in my bed, and I'm looking at my helmet, and I'm like, you get back on that bike. You get back on that bike. You get back on that bike. And I just kept repeating that in my mind. And I just started yelling it to myself. And I was like, my hands were like I could tell my hand like was like, no, don't do it. And I was like feeling like just
tension and
just a crazy amount of tension. But I was like pressuring myself. It's another one of those me versus me moments. And I took the bike helmet, I slapped it on, I went to the nearest Bixie station, I unlocked it, and I just started biking.
Dude, were you like, what was going through your head walking to that Bixie, like about to
unlock it? Everything was telling me to not do it. Everything was telling me not to do it. But I know this enough to know that this is the fearful part of me. There was like the coddling voice that, oh, it's okay, stay in bed, make yourself a nice tea, do the podcast, relax, take it easy, you know? And it's like, no. Imagine how you would feel. Like, what if you got back on the bike the same week you got a near-death bike accident?
That's crazy.
Like,
that's
what
the
if?
Same week.
The same week. What if? Like, what if you did that and how would you feel? Like, how would you feel? That's the question to ask yourself. That's the question I ask myself sometimes. Like, what if I pull this off? Like, what if this happened? How would I feel? And just that just started like getting me so excited. I was like, I have to go and try it.
Yeah.
And I have to attempt. And I got on the bike, I unlocked it, I got on, and I was on this like super slow in the bike lane, and I was checking every
for sure.
half a second, everything.
Been on paranoia alert at the beginning.
The most. And I biked a whole like 3 kilometers all the way to a metro station. I parked the Bixie, and I took a picture of the Bixie. I was like,
how'd you feel, dude?
Dude, I felt so good. I felt so good. I was like, you did it. And
that's amazing, dude.
I started biking again.
That's so big because I have a friend of mine. She got hit by a car biking. It altered her whole life.
Yeah.
Completely altered her whole life from just the fear in general of biking, but like it altered everything of security, and like it really had a huge impact. So the fact that within 7 days you pushed yourself to fucking get back on that bike after something that was like, because you got injured, but at the same time you were lucky enough to not get injured. So a lot of people would be like, oh my God, I'm never doing this again. Yeah. I don't even have the injury to show. Thank God I'm never fucking doing this again. And you had the complete opposite reaction.
No, I had to.
And so now, like when you're going on a bike, does that ever come into your mind still? Or is it something that you
it's always, I assume it's always going to be back of mind, but it's the fact of the matter that once again, my thought is not me. My thought is like stems from me, and I'm the one who decides. Like I have to be able to be the one who says like, this is what we're doing. This is how we're getting there. This is why we're doing it. Like my mind doesn't get to control me. I control it. I don't let my fears define my life. I define them. Yeah. That's like how I attack situations.
Yeah.
Because if I don't, I just feel like I'm not going to be able to live fully.
Yeah. You're missing.
I'm missing out.
Yeah. I was about to say that. I think of a lot of things from my younger days, just kind of like, Man, it wasn't because I couldn't do it. I was scared of maybe the success of it, or I was scared of the failure of it.
Yeah.
I was scared of some sort of, I don't know, reaction that people would have. You know, like let's say you got up on stage and you played music and, you know, fucking someone puts a sign on. How many people would have just stopped playing music that day?
So many.
You know, I know for me, like, and I mentioned a story in other episodes of somebody doing something similar where they pulled, I didn't even see it. Like I saw it from a video perspective from a recording. And the guy says like, oh, this kid sucks. When I was like 12. And in my mind, like, I could have stopped that day most likely. Just fuck it. I'm not gonna play guitar anymore. I suck. Fuck it. I'll go find something else. And it was like the opposite. I was like, I got to do this now. Fuck this guy. And fuck this guy, and I got to do it.
Yeah.
And I used him as fuel, to be honest, at the beginning to say I'm gonna show this motherfucker. But ultimately, it was like I look back now, and a lot of times the decisions that I made were based on more fear than anything else. So I hear you. Like now, that's something for me that I'm working on all the time. Is like, when I'm scared of something, it's like, okay, why am I scared? That's the question I ask myself. Like, what am I really scared about? Am I scared about the action or am I scared about the outcome? And the outcome, what does it represent? Is it an outcome that I'm going to disappoint somebody, so that's why I'm scared, or I'm scared I'm going to fail, or, you know, like whatever those things. But I'm recognizing that there's probably a lot more to this decision that is based on fear. And what is that decision for fear? Like, what am I scared of? Like, what am I really scared of?
Yeah.
And I feel like those are the questions that I ask myself more and more. Like, it's okay to be scared. And I'm also, that's the other thing too. I don't know if you feel this way, but I'm okay with the idea of being scared. I think that's normal.
Absolutely.
It's a human thing.
It's part of it. To me, it's okay to be scared. It's not okay to let it run your life.
Exactly.
Like there's a line.
It's okay to experience a feeling.
You have to,
but it doesn't have to control.
We're all humans. Decision. We're going to experience feelings all throughout our lives. You're allowed to feel these negative, positives, neutral, whatever they are, emotions, thoughts, fears, whatever they are. You know.
Man, this is honestly, Jaian, right?
Yeah.
I fucked up. I almost said it.
It's all good. It's all good.
But this was great, man. Like listening to the story of just not only from the music perspective, but how you got into it. You know, the journey to it, and then obviously this. It could have been a life-altering experience and how you viewed it. What are you working on now that you're super excited about? Or kind of like now that you're breaking into your 30s,
man.
You know, like you know, like you have the anime stuff that's still going on, the music stuff. Well, is there something new that's on the horizon for you that you're super excited about?
So within the anime stuff, there's a new series of albums I'm going to be doing called Anime Anthems.
Okay.
And what Anime Anthems is a series of albums. So the first volume has dropped already. The second volume will have dropped on midnight, right on January 1st. Like New Year's, like boom, new album, 15 tracks. That's going to be 7 small ensemble orchestral covers, 7 piano versions, and a bonus track.
So when you do, quick question actually about that. So let's say when you're releasing shorts and stuff, because I'm sure you're going to build shorts off all this stuff, and because it's a cover and it's on YouTube, does it stop you from, like, you have to do the same thing, the composer? Like, you can just say, give
basically, YouTube has
because I know YouTube's a little different when it comes to,
So YouTube has a copyright system that, like, claims my videos.
Okay.
And then I just have to, like, specify that it's a cover, and then they do the split revenue.
Okay.
Like that.
Okay, so it's the same thing kind of like Spotify. As long as you give credit to the composer. So if you're running a song...
The composer has a representative, a distribution service or something within the YouTube copyright system to like flag metadata content, be like, oh, this is a cover of my song, so automatically like the system will claim it, and I just have to be like, oh, this is my cover of it, and that'll take care of it and it'll split it like that.
The reason why I'm asking is because I know when we're looking at doing shorts too, right, for the show, and like on Instagram I put music and I put whatever it is, and no one ever bothers me or anything, but YouTube I always felt like I didn't know. So
basically with the YouTube shorts, the way that works is we have, you're allowed to like select a song, but right away there's already like a pre-registered split that like a bigger split will
so you
already.
can put the music. It's just, you have to, okay, perfect.
But like already,
thanks for clarifying that.
For sure.
Live on a show.
But the stuff that's really exciting for podcasting that's coming out in 2024 is multilingual audio.
Okay.
That's with AI. You like obviously I'm sure you're familiar with Mr. Beast.
Yeah.
Mr. Beast has like multiple channels in different languages. You know, he has like Mr. Beast in Spanish and French. Well, now within one YouTube video, you're gonna be able to like go on the little wheel and be like, I want to listen to this podcast in Portuguese, in Spanish, in French,
and it's gonna be automatic.
Yeah. With AI,
everyone could just like
it's gonna be I think it's already
pretty cool.
Yeah, it's already coming out on certain platforms, so that's something I'm really excited about. Another project I'm working on is, speaking of translations, is I'm translating my song titles in 29 different languages that I can do via my distributor. It's like a new metadata section where you can be like, okay, what's your song title in this language? And so that's already available on Apple Music and YouTube Music. They've fully implemented it.
Okay.
And Spotify's working on implementing it as far as I understand. And my song covers are all instrumental. So it doesn't matter for me what language. So I'm working on translating my song titles every single day.
Wow.
And all new music I put out has translated song titles. I have a music project called Chip Machine, which I didn't really talk about. It's an electroacoustic music project. It's experimental music.
Okay.
And I always try to drop at least one album a year. So I'm working on...
Dude, you're ripping albums a year. Like, not one album a year.
But it's experimental music is I'm not going to say easier to make, but it's like I create the rules. If I feel like making a 45-second drone, it's going to be a 45-second drone, and that's going to be the song. I'm not going to, like, some people hold on to a piece of music for like 3 years or 4 years or a decade on their hard drive, and they're like, oh, it's not ready yet. I'm like, just put it out, man. Just put it out and just keep putting it out and don't stop. And obviously Anime Podcasters is something I'm very passionate about. You know, my goal with that is I want to hit 200 episodes before my birthday. Wow. So we do 2 to 3 episods a month, and it's always with the same guys. So it's not like as complicated as for you to find guests and everything. Yeah. So that podcast has been rolling since 2015. And I want to try to get a pitch to a network. So if you're a part of a network and you're looking for an anime podcast, let me know. And I'm just constantly working. Now, obviously, I'm going to be doing more freelance audio stuff. You know, I want to do more game audio. This is like outside of content creation. I'm looking forward to another year at CBC and another year at different music studios.
Are you still working at Planet Studios?
No, I don't work at Planet Studios anymore. No, I took the experience I got from there, and then when I got into CBC, like it got super busy.
Yeah, it just took too much time.
Yeah, exactly. And I still wanted to do YouTube and stuff so. No, but I'm very grateful for my time at that studio. It was something that, you know, like made me become more of a man and like helped me grow up, and CBC as well. Like I got there and it was like, oh, you don't have a driver's license? You do now. And it's like I had to learn how to drive, and that's a whole other story. Like, you know, that's a whole other.
Dude, but look, man, I'm super excited about all the projects you're working on.
Thank you.
I'm wishing you only the best.
Thank you.
You know, and even the mindset that we didn't really even talk about any of this stuff prior to this conversation. So I feel like I kind of really got to know you, man.
Yeah.
Through the conversation, and I appreciate you opening up about all that stuff.
For sure, man.
Your viewpoints on things, I think we're very similar on a lot of that mindset, you know, and the hard work and discipline. So, man, I'm wishing you all the best, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again in the future, and just keeping in touch. And
for sure,
we're doing a Christmas party, dude. So
I'll come through the Christmas party. And if you're watching this, subscribe. Do it. Hit it. This man works so hard. You have no idea. The man's got a calendar, and every day is filled up. You need to subscribe right now. Cut this up as a reel, okay? But like I'm telling you, this podcast was such a great experience, and I loved it. And the other conversations are super interesting. And if you want to learn more about interesting people in Montreal, I think this is the perfect niche. Honestly, that's the other thing I wanted to say. Like, what a cool concept to like find like this metropolitan which has millions of people in it, and it's like here are the select few interesting that you want to talk. Like I love it. I love it.
Thank you. I think you just cut a promo for me.
For sure, man. I got you.
Dude, thank you so much, man.
Sure.
I appreciate it, and we're definitely gonna keep in touch. I'll see you on the 13th, man.
Yeah, sounds good. Take it easy. Yeah, for sure, man. For sure.
That's it.
Yeah. And clap.
Chris, you got that?
Hey, thanks for checking out the show. It's been awesome working on this project. And if you like it, tell a friend. And if you want to support the show, you can by 1, subscribing and liking our YouTube channel at the DMW Podcast. 2, you can go to our website and sign up to our mailing list at the dmwpodcast.com. And 3, you can follow us on Instagram at the DMW Podcast. Thanks again for all of your support. My name is Stef, and this is the Dead Man Walking Podcast.